Brittany, 7 months ago, I was standing in this same spot. When I returned this morning, I expected changes. I found some, but unfortunately for residents, they amount to very little. So as we walk into the newsroom here, I got to tell you, people are dropping like flies. A number of people have gone home sick. But I want to show you this because this is the basement where those kids were allegedly kept. I want to also show you the marker of where this water came up to. I spoke with the neighbor who lives inside this home who told me the good news here is that the water didn't reach the second floor. But as you can see, it's still pretty bad here. The amount of police has continued to grow here. We're seeing kind of a barricade of police cars. This surge of passengers is really something the airport has gotten accustomed to. Let's walk in here and I'll show you a little bit closer about what we're talking about in terms of damage. As we came in this morning, boarded up buildings, boarded up houses as they do anything they can to try and stop Hurricane Florence. These numbers are really not going in the right direction for the McCready campaign. There's only so many votes to catch up. You can still see some of the tape here, and as we walk over, you'll see some of the sandbags that employees tried to use. Now we are starting to get a sense of the actual physical damage. Take a look behind my shoulder here. You'll see this business that has just been gutted. Take a look at this little guy right here. He's got a broken wing. He's expected to be okay in the next couple of weeks. As for this vortex tunnel, give the credit to photographer Rob McMahon and doing that spin around the tunnel. This will make you dizzy. Brittany, I'm about ready to pass out. We'll send things back to you in the studio.
Reuben, go.
For nearly 4 years, Queens University has been Noah Goldman's home. He's a resident advisor in the dorms.
I love it here. I'm actually very sad, pretty sad that I have to leave.
It's why he was so surprised about what he found under his apartment door in October.
While I was gone, someone had slipped a note under my door. On the note on it, there was a swastika drawn on it, and below the swastika it said Jew RA.
Goldman, who is Jewish, said the note came just 2 weeks before the deadly synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh that killed 11 people.
To me, I took it to mean you're not welcome here.
CMPD says hate crimes in Charlotte-Mecklenburg are up 52% from 2013 to 2017. During that time, there were 35 crimes against blacks, 33 against homosexuals, 17 against whites, and 13 against Hispanics. But recently, the biggest jump is against the Jewish community, up from 1 crime in 2014 to 8 in 2017.
It's certainly very concerning anytime we have someone who is victimized.
This year's numbers aren't out yet, but Laurel Grauer from the Jewish Federation of Greater Charlotte says she's received 9 reports of anti-Semitic hate crimes at schools in the Charlotte area just in the past 8 weeks.
Slurs that students have said from one student to another, hate speech in the form of graffiti and notes.
Unfortunately, we are getting a lot of sound bites that are giving free rein to hate speech. So students, I believe, are taking their cues from the adults in our society.
Donna Tarney works at the Stan Greenspon Center for Peace and Justice at Queens. It's one of a number of groups that works with schools after hate crimes occur.
We need to start intentionally educating our children about bias and prejudice. With so many other things weighing on the minds and time of teachers, this is what gets kicked to the side.
Residents on the floor.
Goldman isn't backing down. He wants to send a message.
I just want to raise awareness, let people know that this stuff happens, and hopefully that'll make it less likely to happen.
We're trying to find a common place.
This is a drive Carl Wall never thought he'd be taking.
I didn't see my career going in this direction, but things happen for a reason.
He runs the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation's new human trafficking unit. He's a team of 1.
I'm the only one full-time doing this in the state.
Tonight, his work is taking him to a hotel off Highway 52 in Salisbury. He'll be joined by a couple dozen other law enforcement officers, some of them seen here in a briefing we attended prior to the operation.
Our goal tonight is to do a rescue mission. So we'll be calling or soliciting girls to come to us.
The girls are potentially human trafficking victims, but unlike prostitution busts, they aren't getting arrested. They are getting help if they accept it. As we enter a back door of the hotel, we hide our camera gear. Not only does the hotel not know we are there, it also doesn't know police are inside. Wall, agents from the Department of Homeland Security, and local officers squeeze into one room. They will spend the night scouring an aggregator that compiles websites where sex is advertised and identify people who may be trafficked.
Photographs that are not selfies, so they had to be taken by another individual.
They focus on girls who look like they are under 18.
We're looking for minors. That would be the goal.
Once an agent makes contact, often through text, they attempt to convince the person to come to the hotel we are at.
What else does she want to come?
Well, I'm working.
It doesn't take long to make contact.
9036.
Some of the girls are located as far away as Charlotte.
Okay.
It then becomes a game of waiting.
I think we've got 2 en route.
A few hours into the operation,
where I can see them come in.
the first car pulls up and drops a woman off.
I'm walking towards the building.
She thinks she's meeting the man she was texting with. Outside, police are ready to confront the potential trafficker.
Still in the vicinity of the vehicle.
We watch as cameras, police discreetly put up in the hotel, follow the girl upstairs. She looked pretty young,
She looked really young. Yeah.
which tells you what?
There's a great possibility of being trafficked.
As she goes into the room across from where we are, police identify themselves, tell her she's not in trouble, and then offer her help, which comes by way of Hannah Arrowwood.
The first thing that I personally and our team would say to them is that they matter and that there's people that actually care about them.
Arrowwood is the executive director of Present Age Ministries in Concord, which works with human trafficking survivors between ages 12 and 18.
It's astronomically big. And the reality of it is that you don't always have an arrest even though you can identify a victim.
She says police are tackling the issue a lot differently than they used to. She's been on about a dozen of these operations.
10 years ago, the approach probably would have been very different, where we probably, as service providers, wouldn't have been on site.
It's an old practice, but everything has evolved.
As for the woman we watched come into the hotel, it turns out she was older than police thought. She's 26 and refused to accept any help from a service provider. Wall says that's not uncommon.
It takes 6 encounters with a trafficking victim to get them to want to see that this isn't normal.
The good news is later that night, a victim did accept help and left the hotel with a service provider. The man who dropped her off was arrested for drugs found in the car. It's hard to watch this because you know that she might be a minor and she is being forced into this.
Correct.
But do you get any satisfaction seeing this every time?
Absolutely. Anytime we can get one person off the street for a period of time.
If she doesn't take it, though.
Doing something's better than doing nothing.
He started going towards South Carolina, and that's when I realized that he was kidnapping me.
It's a moment Shayna Asby can't get out of her mind. How a man she thought was a friend suddenly became her attacker. Did you think you were going to survive?
No.
Asby first met Charles Harris in 2016.
He seemed okay, he seemed nice.
She was homeless, living here with her son at the Salvation Army in Charlotte. Harris often gave her a ride to work. But on May 11th, 2016, on the way to the airport, Harris did the unimaginable.
He pulled up the cab of the truck. He raped me over the back of the truck as well as on the ground.
This was going on for how long?
This was going on for like at least 45 minutes to an hour.
He kidnapped her along with her son. Eventually, he took her to his home where she was raped again and again.
He had told me that he was going to kill me and my son.
Her 11-year-old son was able to escape. He climbed up a tree to hide and called 911.
I'm so scared. My mom is being forced to have sex with somebody.
I heard a bump, like a thump. So I'm like, oh my God, I am about to be dead. But as he proceeded to walk out the room, all I heard was Charlotte Mecklenburg police, get on the ground right now.
But that isn't the end of this story. Police did arrest Charles Harris that night, but when they looked into his past, they found something shocking. It's been nearly 30 years since Sabrina Adams was raped. She was 21. The man pulled out a gun as she and a friend were giving him a ride home. She says he would rape one of them in the back seat of the car as the other was driving and repeat the process. She still has the police report. But for years, she heard nothing.
I just figured maybe he was in jail or dead.
27 years later, she got a call that police had found her attacker. The man was Charles Harris.
It hurt. And it still hurts.
One piece of evidence was the game changer. Not only did it reveal a connection with Adams, it also exposed a group of women who had spent years searching for justice. In Charlotte, Reuben Jones, Spectrum News. We want to get you caught up on this story because we're at 6:31, bottom of the hour. And here's what we know at this point. There are 3 students who are reported to be shot on the campus of UNC Charlotte. We now know the name of the worker killed in an accident at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. A racist and a con man. That's what President Donald Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, called his former boss. Here's my favorite one. I showed you this last hour. Let me see if I can find another good one here. It's debunking hurricane myths. Chief, we met last year covering Hurricane Florence. I know that was a unique storm because of the amount of water. What I'm just learning is that there is a rescue in progress. So that is new information and perhaps a little concerning. Jonathan, I'm glad to see you look a little drier than you were just a little while ago, but what are the conditions like? We now know the fate of the officer who pulled the trigger. Officer Wendy Curl will not face charges for killing Dan Queers Franklin. Spectrum News reporter Katie Salt has followed this story since the beginning. We were both there at that incident at the Burger King. What are you learning today, Katie? I think this can't be said enough, Jeff, is that this was the last day of classes at the university. They were getting ready for exams. I can remember from college, this is perhaps a very stressful time because you're studying, you're getting ready, and then you add this, of all things, on top of that. It's unthinkable.